Hello guys, welcome back to another video, and today we are going to continue our spooky book The Haunted Dinosaur by Kripila von Cacklefur. Today we are going to read chapter 5 to chapter 8. So let's begin. Chapter 5 One Scary Dinosaur. A large sign stood at the entrance to the hall that contained the Spookosaurus skeleton. It rested on a stand made of small bones that had been tied together. Geronimo stopped to read it before he entered. Here lies Spookosaurus. Do not enter if you get nauseous or you are frightened easily. Maybe I'll skip this room, he stammered after he read the sign. Oh no, you don't, Geronimo, Kripila said as she grabbed his paw and pushed him into the room. Unfortunately, this caused Geronimo to trip over the sign. He knocked it down and the bones shattered into 1,000 pieces. Geronimo! Kripila squeaked, exasperated. Look, what have you done? Me? Geronimo replied. You're the one who pushed me. Kripila peeked inside the room and gasped. Howling mummies, she squeaked. This dinosaur is petrifying. Rats and bats, Shiverine exclaimed, clapping her little paws in approval. It's totally blood-curdling. Moldy mummy soup, said Snip and Snap. It's horrific. The terrifying Spookosaurus skeleton towered all over them. Holy cheese, Geronimo exclaimed as he tried not to faint with fear. A shiver ran down his spine. Next to that fossil, the other dinosaurs looked like little worms on a piece of cheese. The Spookosaurus skeleton was so big, it took up the entire room, and it was so tall that the roof had been cut open to make room for the top of the skeleton's head. The Spookosaurus' gigantic paws ended in long, sharp claws. Its mouth gaped open in a smirk that exposed its razor-sharp teeth, and its eyes were two massive, hollow holes that were as dark as a bottomless well. Its smallest tooth is bigger than my largest pot, Chef Stewart observed. Grandpa Frankenstein even forgot about his remote control. For a minute, he was the one who seemed stunned. As he peered up the ancient monster in admiration. In his excitement, Grandpa didn't notice that his infamous rival, Shamli Rattenbaum, was standing right next to the Spookosaurus. Shamli was wearing his usual old patched jacket with the gardenia tucked in the buttonhole. As soon as Shamli spotted Grandpa Frankenstein, he approached him with his usual contempt. I didn't think I'd meet so many uncultured rodents at such a prestigious museum, he said with a sniff of disdain. The scientist clenched the ballbuster remote in his paw. Watch your tongue, Rattenbaum, Grandpa Frankenstein squeaked. You don't want me to try my latest device on you. Shamli Rattenbaum laughed. I'm not afraid of you, Dr. Frankenstinky, he teased Grandpa. Anyway, I just noticed a certain similarity between you and this dinosaur. Is it our backbones? Grandma replied. Because at least I have one, you on the other paw. Rattenbaum became as white as a ghost, then as red as an overripe tomato. How dare you? He replied as he plucked the gardenia from his buttonhole. He was about to throw it at his rival's snout, but Grandpa Frankenstein was quicker. He pointed the ballbuster remote at Shamli and pressed the red button. Rattenbaum froze instantly. He was as immobile as a mummified lizard. His eyes were the only part of his body that moved, and they darted back and forth, shooting daggers at the entire Von Cacklefur clan. Now, he's the one that looks like a dinosaur, joked Grandpa. I agree, Boris chuckled. Looks like your new invention is a big success, Grandma Crypt observed. Yes, it works like a charm, Shiverine said. Kripila put up a paw to get everyone's attention. Shh, she said. Quiet. It looked like the effects of the ballbuster remote are wearing off. Shamli is moving. Chapter 6. A Terrifying Surprise. Rattenbaum rolled his eyes, wrinkled his nose, and stretched out his right paw and then his left paw. Grandma Frankenstein was still celebrating his success, and he didn't notice Shamli charging toward him. "Grandpa, watch out!" Kripala squeaked, but she was too late. Shamli had snatched the ballbuster remote right out of Grandpa Frankenstein's paws. He held it above his head triumphantly. "Aha!" Rattenbaum squeaked gleefully. "You'll be sorry you froze me, Professor." "Be careful, Rattenbaum," Geronimo warned him. "That device is not a toy. Someone could get hurt." "Is it proper to freeze a rodent for no reason?" Shamli asked. "Well, no it isn't. I do agree with you," Geronimo stuttered. "Still, it isn't safe. Enough," shouted Shamli. He turned and pointed the remote control at Grandpa Frankenstein. The professor quickly ducked behind the Spookosaurus' massive paw. "It's payback time," Rattenbaum said as he pressed the green button with all his might. "No!" cried Grandpa Frankenstein as he flung himself at his rival. "Not the green button!" Too late. Rattenbaum had already pressed the wrong button. A bright green ray shot out of the remote, hitting the giant Spookosaurus skeleton in the snout. The fossil's fearsome face lit up with a menacing glow. Grandpa Frankenstein's snout went as pale as a slice of mozzarella. "What have you done?" he moaned. "I have no idea what's going to happen now. Yikes!" "Professor," Geronimo asked, a worried look on his snout, "we really don't know what the green button does. Didn't you invent the remote yourself?" "Scampering skeletons," Kripala squeaked suddenly, her eyes wide. "I think I just figured out what the green button does." "The red button freezes things," Kripala whispered, "but the green button brings things to life, even the 1,000-year-old skeleton of a fossilized dinosaur. Look!" Suddenly, the Spookosaurus took a flying leap up to the roof of the building. Chapter 7. It's Raining Bones. The room became as quiet as a tomb. Grandpa Frankenstein pointed an angry paw at Shamli Rattenbaum. "Look, what have you done?" Grandpa said accusingly. "It's all your fault, Frankenstein," Rattenbaum replied haughtily. "After all, your invention made the Spookosaurus come to life. Who would invent something so horrible? And if you hadn't frozen me first?" Kripala stepped between them. "That's enough fighting," she squeaked. "Both of you, we have to figure out how to stop that prehistoric monster before it destroys Gloomeria." Grandpa nodded and headed for the exit. "I'll head straight to my laboratory," he said. "Hopefully, I can invent something to fix this mess." An infuriated Shamli Rattenbaum stormed off in the opposite direction. "Well, I'm going home to some peace and quiet," he shouted. "I have had enough." Meanwhile, the Spookosaurus was on a demolition course out in front of the museum. The destructive dino was running over everything that crossed its path. Soon the lovely garden in front of the museum was destroyed, and it became a mass of trampled white flowers. As the Spookosaurus stormed down the street, it crushed a row of cars, flattening them like cheddar pancakes. Every so often, a few small bones would come loose from the Spookosaurus clothesline. The bones rained down on the snouts of the rodents below. "Help!" the fleeing rodents cried. "It's raining bones!" The mayor pleaded for calm despite the chaos. "Everything is under control," he squeaked over the shouts of the rodents around him. His wife tapped him on the back. "Darling, your car," she whispered. He turned to his wife. "What did you say, dear?" Mayor Chatterpaws asked. "Look at your car," Carol repeated. "What do you mean?" the mayor asked, confused. "The Spookosaurus just squashed your Jalopy 2000. Carol replied calmly, pointing to her husband's most prized possession. "What? No!" he sobbed, tears rolling down his face. "My baby! I love that car so much!" Geronimo, Kripala and the rest of the Von Cacklefurs scurried out of the museum just in time to see the mayor burst into tears. "What an awful mess!" Kripala exclaimed as she took in the disaster the Spookosaurus had left in its wake. "We have to stop it," the mayor cried desperately. Kripala nodded. "Agreed," she said solemnly. "But how?" The Spookosaurus was busy plodding through the middle of town, crushing everything in its path. But suddenly, the skeleton stopped and raised its head as if something had hit it. Then it took off toward the edge of town at top speed. "Where's it going?" Geronimo stammered, his whiskers shaking with fright. "That's the way to Rattenbaum Mansion." Kripala gasped. "Let's follow it." The mayor threw his arms up. "I'm going back to City Hall," he squeaked. "Call me if there's any news." Chapter 8. A Cup of Moldy Tea. Back at the Rattenbaum Mansion, Shamley's triplet granddaughters, Tilly, Millie and Lily, were lounging contentedly under the patched, wobbly gazebo in the mansion's ever-grown gardens. A teapot, some chipped teacups and a tray of moldy pastries sat on the table before them. The family's pet millipede, Ziggy, spotted the treats and began to drool in anticipation. Unfortunately for Ziggy, the horrid moldy goodies were for him, but for their sister's prestigious guests, the triplets Lenny, Benny and Danny Vanderwermer. The three young ratlets were descendants of one of the oldest families in Mysterious Valley. Their family boasted counts, dukes, viscounts and marquises all over the genealogical tree. The Vanderwermers prided themselves on their royal blood, yet everyone in the family seemed to be completely broke. "How honored we are to visit," Lenny began gallantly. "After so many years," continued Benny, "of being away from the city," Danny concluded. "Oh no, the good fortune is all ours," Millie replied. "Would you like a cup of moldy tea?" asked Lily. "Or an aged pastry," suggested Tilly. At the word pastry, Ziggy began to whimper hungrily, but no one was paying any attention to him. The triplets were more interested in entertaining their dacious young guests. Ziggy's duty for the day was playing DJ. He was in charge of changing the records on the ancient gramophone, and he was doing a fabulous job. His favorite record was playing. It was Tear in the Tempest by Lyrica Sonatale, and the notes of the song, morbid whining, hung in the air. The three noble rats were impressed with the millipede's musical taste. "What an absolutely eerie record," Lenny said admiringly. "It's so ghastly and ghoulish," Benny agreed. "Yes, it's deeply depressing," Danny concluded. Ziggy noticed that the triplets were distracted by the noble rats and the noble rats were distracted by the music. So he quickly snatched a rotten grasshopper pastry during the second verse of Mournful Lament. "Yum!" he whispered as he gulped it down in one bite. Ziggy was about to grab another treat when he noticed Shamley Rattenbaum scurrying along the path to the mansion. Shamley seemed disoriented. He was mumbling to himself as he stormed toward the gazebo in the garden. "Isn't that your grandfather?" Lenny asked. "He looks really upset," continued Benny. "Maybe a business deal went wrong," Danny suggested. The three sisters looked at each other in dismay, shook their heads and sighed in unison. "No," Tilly squeaked. "He probably just met someone from the annoying Von Cacklefur family." Only this much for today. I had a lovely time reading to all of you. So thanks. The next video would be available soon. So to get the latest updates and be up to date, subscribe to my channel. Thank you.